Have you ever received inappropriate or vague referrals? If so, you are in the right spot. This is what we're going to chat about in today's episode of the SLP Now podcast. Inappropriate referrals might look like getting a list of half of the students in a teacher's class. I've definitely gotten a couple of those. Or really vague referrals, like the student just isn't talking much. In today's episode, we are going to dive into how we can respond and support teachers in making effective referrals and to avoid some of those awkward conversations. When we do have to have those awkward conversations, we'll chat about some tips too. But this is happening because teachers want to help and they're not experts in speech and language. They didn't receive a master's degree and they didn't have hundreds of hours of coursework in speech and language development. So it makes sense that there would be some confusion and that the referrals aren't always perfect. Understanding that background and giving them some grace and compassion and that they're trying to do their best. It makes sense that if it's a new school year and they're just surprised at how much students are struggling, or at progress reports, and when they have parent-teacher conferences or at the end of the school year, those are times that we get an influx of referrals. It makes sense that they would reach out for help because they're not sure what to do. They know something's not quite right and are just trying to do what they can to support students. They are also very overloaded with their workload and trying to do their best. Now that we have that context, we can take a deep breath. Even if we get frustrated, we can understand why this is happening. In an ideal world, when we receive a referral, we would have observable communication concerns where this teacher can specifically list what they're seeing. They have some speech errors. They're hard to understand. Maybe they give a percentage of how well they can understand the student. Like, I understand the student 50% of the time. Or maybe they're able to list specific sounds that the student is struggling with or specific skills they seem to struggle with, like answering questions or whatever it may be. So that would be one amazing thing. Like, that would make a great referral from a teacher. Then the second thing we would love to see is the classroom impact. Are they able to document the impact that concern has on the student's performance in the classroom? And then if they are able to implement any intervention strategies and share those with us as well, because that'll give us important information. Those are three things that I love to help teachers and empower them to give me, because if they give me that observable communication concern that is age appropriate and the documented classroom impact as well as intervention strategies, then that makes my job so easy. So some ways that we can help teachers help us are to use teacher-friendly tools and to provide them ahead of time. So I have a series of handouts on how to make referrals. Some practical things that we can do with this handout are to share the process at a teacher meeting or to go through it with teachers one-on-one. Especially if you're new to a school, it might be worth making a list of all the teachers and trying to introduce yourself to all of them and then share information about their students and also share the sheet on how to make an appropriate referral. Strategically going to all the teachers, taking 5 to 10 minutes to share that information with them at the beginning of the school year. And then another thing that's really low lift is just to print out the handout and put it in their box. It may not get as much attention. Maybe if you put a piece of candy on it, it'll do a little bit better, or whatever other creative strategies you can think of. Making it clear how they can make a referral, what a good referral consists of, and what that looks like. So that is step one. Then step two is to share a printable checklist with examples of concerns for specific grade levels. For example, I have a preschool handout, a first grade handout, and then all the way through secondary. That is helpful for teachers if they're like, oh, I have this student, I'm not sure if I need to refer them. Let me look at this handout and see if I'm seeing any of these things. And when they are making a referral, it can give you more helpful information versus I have communication concerns. They can say, oh yeah, I'm noticing that they're struggling to answer questions. I only understand them 10% of the time. So that's another thing that we can share. You can also present that at a meeting, go over it one-on-one with teachers, or just put it in their boxes as a resource. But that's number 2. So we've got referral checklist for specific grade level concerns. You can also share intervention sheets. I've created these inside SLP Now, and they're a resource in the membership. The handouts on how to make a referral, and I also have one on scope of practice for SLPs, as well as the grade level checklist. If you sign up for my SLP Summit presentation at slpsummit.com, you can check out those resources and you can access them for free. But the intervention sheets are only available in SLP Now to members. They give teachers a list of evidence-based interventions that they can try for specific areas of concerns, and then it has a log so that they can document what they tried, when they tried it, and how it went. And then they can submit that with their referral as well. This is a really helpful thing to present at a staff meeting as a little in-service. You can go over it with teachers one-on-one, share the handout in teachers' boxes as an example too, or you can send it via email. So lots of options there. And then the last tip that I have is to create forms to help you collect teacher input. Once it is time to submit a referral, this can make a world of a difference. In the survey that I sent out to SLPs several months ago, a lot of SLPs reported that it's hard to get meaningful or relevant data. A well thought out form can make a world of a difference. And you can have a paper form that you hand out to teachers, send a PDF via email, or you can have a fillable form that's online and they just type in the information, hit submit, and it gets sent to you. If you are using a digital option, you'll just want to make sure that it is HIPAA, FERPA compliant. We have forms built into SLP Now. So if you create a new referral, you send the link to a teacher and then the teacher can fill it out. Then you'll be able to see once the form is complete, review the data, and make a decision based on that. That's the recap of 4 practical strategies: sharing a handout on how to make a referral, giving grade level printable checklists to help them gauge what would be an appropriate referral or not, sharing intervention sheets so that they're empowered to implement things, parents or teachers or other members of the team, but just having that structured and giving those strategies and ideas can be really impactful. And then the 4th thing is having forms to collect that information. You don't have to have a long conversation with every teacher. You can just send off the form. It'll give you all of the information that you need to make an appropriate decision. So if we are doing all of these things, ideally we're getting a lot of really great high quality referrals. But it'll take some time for this to actually work, and we will get some referrals that maybe are inappropriate or that don't have enough information in the meantime. The biggest thing is revisiting the conversation that our teachers don't have the same background that we do, and they are very overworked and have a lot on their plates. They also just want to do what's in the best interest of students, and they're trying to look out for their students. So coming from a place of compassion and understanding and being able to acknowledge their concern, making sure that they're heard. Yes, I hear what you're telling me, acknowledging that they're looking out for their students, and then offering some alternatives, like sharing those intervention ideas can be really helpful, and empowering them with some strategies. Sometimes they just want reassurance of this is age appropriate. They're right on track. Sharing that information and sharing the developmental norms or expectations can be a really great strategy too. There are some legal things to consider in terms of timelines, responding to referrals, what's considered a referral, are we allowed to do interventions, and all of that. There's a lot of questions around that, and that's what we are going to dive into more next week. If you haven't already, checked out my SLP Summit presentation where I share my whole system for managing referrals, head to slpsummit.com. It's free to watch the replay. They'll be available until August 15th. Anyone who watches gets access to the free bundle of teacher handouts that I made, which includes how to make a referral, the grade level checklist, the SLP scope of practice. They are editable, so you can customize them to meet your needs. I hope to see you there.